Alright, guys. Motion filed for reduction of Proud Boys leader's sentence. Alleges politically motivated judge acted deeply inappropriately. There's still 4 Proud Boys who are imprisoned right now because they got in a fist fight with some Antifa guys in a bar. The Proud Boys didn't have any weapons. They just kind of won. And the Antifa members, they called the police pigs and ran away. Henry Tarrio, through counsel and pursuant to Superior Court Criminal Procedure Rule, blah, 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 respectfully request that the Honorable Harold Cushenberry Jr. immediately recuse himself from Mr. Tarrio's above-captioned cases and that another Superior Court judge reconsider and substantially reduce the sentence. The sentence imposed by this court is unreasonably harsh and disproportionate when taking into account the goals of sentencing. A. In comparison to similar offenses committed by similarly situated defendants with different political views, Mr. Tarrio's sentence is disproportionate. B. Even excluding sentences by other trial judges that demonstrate Tarrio's sentence is disproportionately harsh, this court's own sentences demonstrate that Mr. Tarrio's current sentence is disproportionately harsh. Now, this is a fighter, too. This court lacked a firm factual foundation to base his determination that Tarrio knew the flag came from a church and violated Tarrio's due process rights by making the finding that he lied to the court and by aggravating his sentence based on his findings, on this finding. Now, apparently the fact that this flag, come on, guys. Real talk. This flag was taken down from a church. A church had a BLM flag on it. And somebody took it down. Tarrio's taking the blame for something a bunch of people did, right? He's taking the blame. Saying, yeah, I did it. Because he doesn't want to get all these other people in trouble for something so stupid as having a lighter and a flag and lighting it on fire and saying, fuck Antifa. Because that's exactly what happened. Anyway. Before I go any further, Mr. Tarrio, I wasn't aware until I just heard the proffer that this banner, the Black Lives Matter banner, was on the property of the church. Ashbury makes it about himself. And he says, my eldest daughter was actually baptized at that church. Judge, that's not necessary. And just I guess, give some insight on this, I'm accused of the destruction of the banner. And to be completely honest with you, if I would have known that the banner came from the church, it wouldn't have been burned. So he's saying, like, if I knew that it came from the church, it wouldn't have been burned. Now, come on, dude. Why? So here's a situation where I'm like, okay, I'm on team that guy, but he's like now saying like I wouldn't have if I knew where it came from, I wouldn't have done the burning. Come on, dude, I would have done the burning. It's a flag. It's a fucking flag. It's a fucking communist flag. Okay, are we still pretending it means Black Lives Matter? Okay. At that time, the government had possession of all the video footage that it later used to argue prior to and during sentencing that Tarrio somehow lied. Yeah. It's part of the lie. They have to put lie in there, I guess, in order to sentence him, because guys, you fucking burn a flag. They don't care as long as you're on their side. A. This court violated Mr. Tarrio's due process rights by relying on unclear, inconclusive, ambiguous, and unreliable video evidence to find that Mr. Tario knew that the banner came from a church, despite Mr. Tario's sworn plea proffer in which he denied such knowledge, which this court previously accepted at the plea hearing. Why does it matter? Why does it matter that it came from a church? Who the fuck cares? So let me get this straight. Antifa and BLM are allowed to burn down a church. A church. But if Proud Boy takes a flag off of a church and burns that flag in another location, then they're in trouble. Big trouble. Big, big, big trouble. What? What? B. This court lacked a firm factual foundation to find that the video showed that the banner came from a church. Why the fuck do we care? 3. Mr. Tario was denied a full and fair sentencing hearing because he was prohibited from presenting the character witnesses that he preferred. So Tario wasn't able to bring any sort of witnesses for his case. So that's what that one's all about. I can go through it if you want. The defendant has the right to introduce relevant evidence. This court denied Mr. Tario's request that a character witness address the court. Nonetheless, this court let the government present its witness, the Reverend Dr. Mills. This court's refusal of the defense's request undermined the defense's sentencing process. Yeah, of course. Of course. He got fucked. 4. Mr. Tario relied upon this court's acceptance of Mr. Tario's sworn statement in his factual proffer that he did not know that the banner came from a church, deciding to waive recusal, and thus this court was bound to accept either Mr. Tario's sworn statement as true or allow him to change his decision to waive recusal. What the fuck? Apparently it matters whether you know that this flag, okay, it's a banner. It's basically a fucking sign. You're not allowed to burn a sign. If it came off of a church. At the plea hearing, this court took no issue with Mr. Tario's statement that he did not know the banner came. It's all about whether or not he knew where it came from. Who the fuck gives a fuck? It's a thing that says BLM. So if I take a piece of cardboard paper and I write BLM on it and I put it on my church, somebody takes it and they burn it. Now we're gonna have the taxpayers pay for hours and hours and hours and hours of court processing to find them guilty of burning something that came from a church. No. I think it all comes down to the fact that these fuckers think that Proud Boys are the KKK and they have to make an example of them. Now, it's retarded. So, but, I'm not going to disparage anybody for being retarded. You can be retarded, that's fine. But when it comes to putting someone in prison, let's leave the retards out of it. To the contrary, Rule 211's comments explain that a judge is disqualified whenever the judge's impartiality might reasonably be questioned, regardless whether any of the specific provisions. You get my point. B. An objective, disinterested lay observer fully informed of the facts underlying the ground on which recusal is sought would entertain a significant doubt about this court's impartiality. I think that is probably something that we could put in every court. No standing. A review of District of Columbia precedent does not make clear what legal standard of review applies when a trial judge denies a motion to recuse based on the appearance of impropriety. Some federal courts have held that when a trial judge refuses to recuse himself based on the appearance of impropriety, the standard of review is whether an objective, disinterested lay observer fully informed of the facts underlying the grounds on which recusal was sought would entertain a significant doubt about the judge's impartiality. So, other federal courts have enunciated that in general, a denial of a motion to recuse is reviewed for an abuse of discretion. So basically, what we're looking at, this Proud Boy is laying his life down. Sure, he might be shaving a few months off of his own sentence, but why is he really doing it? Is it not setting a precedent? Is the judicial system not going to see a precedent here? Are they not going to see, like, oh, you know how we used to just find people who were conservative and give them extremely harsh sentences? Are we going to continue doing that? Are we going to be able to continue doing that? I give huge props to this dude. And let's hear what he has to say just to close this out. Tarrio, I'm not happy to go through what God is about to put me. Not because it's just, but because it's part of his plan. What's happening to me is peanuts compared to what others are going through when we're talking about political persecution, but we must never let evil take root. I plan on fighting the DOJ every step of the way. The judge in my case had an extreme bias that showed through every step of the process. The most basic of functions a judge has is to at least know what crimes the defendant is charged with. Not twice, but 3 times. He sentenced me because he had not a single clue of what my charges were. For a misdemeanor, he gave me the max sentence available. But this judge, in 2 recent cases, allowed a pedophile accused of touching underage children to 0 jail time. I don't believe this judge will recuse himself out of pride and extreme prejudice. This is an injustice, and if it is allowed to go unchecked, what chance do the January 6th protesters have? I'm facing months, they're facing decades. My takeaway here, guys, is that remember that you're right. And when you're right, you might need to take some blows. You're going to get punched. You might get choked out. But if you're right, fucking fight. Good night, guys.